Hi guys, Sean here again with Caine and Jeremy, bring you part 2 of our tournament review for the Hunt. And we're going to be talking about the top places, the best lists and who got what for the event. I think Caine had a few notes about the painting scores that he wanted to talk about.
There was definitely some nice armies and stuff brought this weekend and some nice stuff, so we'll go over that.
Lead on, sir.
Okay. Well, there was definitely the two standout armies were Adam Trapetsky's Grey Knights. It was pretty much just a pure Grey Knight army, so some Terminators, Grandmaster, there was 2 Dread Knights, no strikes or anything like that realistically. I think he had an Inquisitor and that was about it realistically, but very well painted. Nice black armor with lots of red robes, lots of free hand.
It was really dark, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very dark, but he did bring it out. He had a some nice red earth tone bases and stuff like that, with a nice display board to go with it.
The display board was awesome. It had the little platform on it, looked really good.
Yep.
Yeah, he's definitely put a lot of hours into that.
Yeah. I really like the Dread Knight conversion as well. The one holding that demon. It looked really good.
Yep. Yeah, it's a very, very nice army.
So congratulations to him. Well done.
Yep. And the second one was, I'm pretty sure, was Dave Amana. And he had pretty much a golden Eldar army, so gold, white, craft world army basically, lots of Guardians and Wraith Knight, a unit of, I believe there was some Wraith Guard in there, Wraith Lord, Varsia.
Did he have an avatar as well?
Yeah, he had an avatar which was converted from the avatar of Caine from Fantasy, and it was all on fire and things like that.
Yeah, the sun looked really nice.
Definitely looked cool. So both of them.
The basing on that one was really impressive as well, actually. A lot of tile bases.
Yeah, a lot of work, a lot of extra effort.
Dave also performed quite well in the tournament as well.
Yeah, both of them are very standout
list,
players, and they know how to play their lists, so they play it well. And
Well, congratulations to those boys, and well, let's move on to our podium finishes. So we'll go through. I think let's just start at the first place and just move down. So
you want to de-escalate?
Let's de-escalate.
All right.
I
don't want to fight you anymore.
Congratulations, Michael Hamilton, on coming first. Very big performance. It was, he took a 9-comp list, which is very interesting. I'll openly say that maybe I got it wrong with my predictions, because in my video, my breaking the meta video, I was saying shoot for 5 to 7 comp. For the reason that people can slip through.
Yeah.
And that's always true. But I think what Michael's done, he's kind of just, he won all his 5 games and just hammered people into submission with his list.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, he was about 20 odd points, 22 points above the next place. So.
Yeah.
Well, he was
I think we're just seeing a really big disparity. Not a disparity, more I think that a lot of, maybe perhaps it's worth saying, community comp's previous failings have slowly been plugged throughout the ages, and I just don't think that the old 5-comp lists are as strong as they used to be. Like, there's less of a disparity between a 5 and an 8 now than there was previously. So like, a lot of people were taking 5s. Previously you might be able to get a 5 that was quite strong. Now they're losing into like maybe losing 1 game and winning 4. Yeah.
They're losing
like
2,
like 2 or 1.5 games. That's that extra 10 points.
Well, it's a good point. Like, so you're saying that like in the past you'd be able to make a 3, 4, 5 comp list that effectively had the strength of a 7, 8, or 9 comp list.
Yeah, correct.
That's not a reasonable thing to say.
You could have, and like the things like the IC tax, I think have crippled the ability to do that. Like I found with my list, I really wanted to have more ICs in, but I just couldn't do it. And that can weaken Death Stars, weaken utility characters.
Well, when you're trying to hit that 5-comp threshold, you always make sacrifices, and you make little concessions as you're building, and then eventually you look at your list and you've actually made a whole bunch of concessions. You're now like 20% less effective on everything. Yeah. Then you run into like a very well crafted 9-comp list, and you don't stand a chance.
Yeah, especially if you like do things like you might say, I really want that vehicle, but you don't put it in because you don't want to go over the next threshold. Yeah. And I really wanted that few extra grab shots, but I didn't. But then when you versus a Wraith Knight, you really wish you spent that comp on grab, don't you? Instead of slipping under.
But back to Michael. So what was he running? He was running the...
So Michael was running Eldar, so basically an Eldar CAD.
Yeah.
And in the Eldar CAD, basically had an Autark on jet bike with a laser lance and some Banshee mask. So basically manipulation reserves, good in combat, high initiative. So then he was running 3 squads of Guardians in Wave Serpents, which is pretty okay. They both had two had scatter laser shuriken cannons and one had bright lance shuriken cannon. So that's 3 good dedicated transports, quite fast across the board.
Yep.
Quite a bit of DACA.
Lots of OBSEC.
Yeah, lots of OBSEC. Then he had a squad of Wraith Flamers, so obviously quite useful in stalling the back lines and moving up the table and supporting things in the middle, which wasn't bad. And then he had a Crimson Hunter, an XR Crimson Hunter.
It's a good anti-flyer there.
Yes, a good anti-flyer. A Wraith Knight with a sword and 2 scatter lasers, so a little bit more DACA and some more support in the middle of the field. A Wraith Lord with 2 Flamers and 2 Bright Lancers, so a little bit of anti-armor, which is quite good, and some more support in the midfield. Yep. Then 2 Vipers, so they obviously have shuriken cannons and scatter lasers, Bright Lancers, sorry. So some more anti-armor again.
So it's interesting because we can see the Bright Lancers adding up.
They keep coming up.
Yeah.
So
over the whole list, he's got 5 Bright Lancers, so that's quite good.
Yep.
And then he had 2 squads of jet bikes with scatter lasers. So overall, it was a 9 comp list. So played quite strong, and he's definitely a good player.
Elder are really good with the bikes. Like, they're just so affordable, they're so accessible, and like in this mission format, which we're running, being the ITC TC thing. The ETC ATC format.
With kill point differential.
The Maelstrom of War and the kill points and stuff like that, and the Eternal. Like, having those bikes it's never bad. I don't think any Elder player would feel bad about taking more bikes.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because he's taken, like, I could definitely see someone building that Eldar list at a 6 or 7 comp and not taking things like the Wraith Guard.
Yep.
So, and paying the vehicle points for the Wave Serpent. So he's kind of said, you know what, I could make these concessions, not take all the Wave Serpents, not take the Wraith Guard, but he's taken them. And like, I'm sure we could ask him, but I'm sure he would say that there would be games that he got, 22 points. And when we say 22 points, we mean he got his 20s full BP plus the 2 points for the bonus objectives.
Yeah.
Where maybe if he didn't have those Wraith Guard, he might not have opened up that Imperial Knight with the D sides or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think the comp definitely paid off for him in this event.
Yeah, it definitely did.
One choice that's really interesting for me is the Wraith Lord. I mean, that's always like a very controversial decision from a competitive point of view. I just think they're like a worse version of a Wraith Knight. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, they are C1 in the community comp thing, so the first one's basically free.
Yeah.
And besides the points, obviously. And if you're putting it next to a Wraith Knight, more toughness 8, more support. There's also some Wraith Flamers. Like, if you've got a unit of Wraith Guard with Wraith Flamers, and obviously the Autarch went with the bikes or the Wraith Guard, put it with the Wraith Guard, so you've got a little bit of AP in that unit. You support the Wraith Lord, the Wraith Knight. They're all sort of in the middle of the field. You've got some really strong fight in the middle of the field there. Like, it's really hard to get past that. Like, even a unit of knobs or something like that can just bounce off that and then get countercharged and lose.
Maybe it was like a comp. Maybe it was a comp dodge. Maybe you sort of got to the end there and thought that, because like across the board, we know Elder are pretty heavily comped. Maybe he's at the top of a few thresholds and thought, what's something I can take that's going to synergize reasonably well without pushing me up a comp?
I think what it does is it does a couple of things. So the first thing it does is it dodges comp. So he's at 9. He doesn't want to spend much more. He's getting value. But importantly, what were you going to say?
I was about to say he's definitely spent some comp points on Wave Serpents, so he's looking for anti-armor where he can get some comp points. So he's taken Vipers. He's probably dodged the threshold on that a little bit. Then he's taken the Wraith Lord. He's got 2 Bright Lancers. Like, if you look at his list, in every category he's spent points, and then he's probably stopped at thresholds. And as you said, the only consecutive one that's left is realistically the Wraith Lord with some Bright Lancers.
Well, what he's given it, so it's got the Ghost Blade as well.
I was just going to say, it's what everyone does though. Like, it's not a fault for hitting the top of those thresholds.
No, not at all.
That's what every competitive player is going to do. Exactly. It's a competitive list design, and it's respectable.
I think what it does when you take... I think if you don't take a Wraith Knight, the Wraith Lord's a lot worse. So I think what effectively the Wraith... And the biggest shortfall of a Wraith, in my experience with the Wraith Lord, is that it's only got 3 wounds. So you have this toughness 8 creature. It's really hard to kill. It's got the good armor save, 3-up armor save with the toughness 8. But because it's only got 3 wounds, a lot of players will kind of say, okay, I'm going to put enough melter into that. I'm going to put enough grab into that to kill it. And they'll kill it and they'll feel good because they'll say, I silenced this big MC. It's got the AP2. It's putting out DACA. But what they've actually done, and what it's actually effectively done, is extended the Wraith Knight's life by 3 wounds.
Yeah.
And sometimes more, because if you put shots into that Wraith Lord and overkill the Wraith Lord, you might put 4 or 5 unsaved wounds on a Wraith Lord that would have put 5 wounds on a Wraith Knight and almost killed it. So he might be kind of using it as a bit of a distraction.
Yeah, it synergizes very.
It's very
well
good with the Wraith. I think that, and I know that other people have done that as well.
Yeah.
So we can see other people in competitive. I mean, I know that what's his name? Ben Clark.
Yeah, Ben Clark.
Ben
quite
Clark
often plays,
uses a Wraith, uses
Wraith
both of
Lord
those
and
together
Wraith
as well.
Knight.
So
Yeah.
these are competent, really good players, elder players that are using this combo.
I guess you kind of fall into a trap a little bit though, because if someone has got a good answer to one, then they've got a good answer to both.
Yeah.
So instead of sinking 300 points into a high threat thing, you've now sunk 500 points into a high threat thing, and I can kill a Wraith Lord just as easy as a Wraith Knight if I've got Grav or Poisoned or whatever it is, D, anything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you definitely can. I
So
guess.
I guess you got to be careful there. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. But no, it's a great list. He's obviously done really well with it. So big word.
I find
Yeah.
it. I wanted to say because I think with the Wraith Guard, I'd be interested to know because I didn't see any of his games. Obviously, we were playing, but whether or not he used the Wave Serpents to kind of unload the Wave Serpents, then load the Wraith Guard in.
I did watch one of his games, which was the final one against Jack, and a lot of his strategies were basically like hold the middle, supporting fire with the Wave Serpents and stuff, and darting in and out. And then when units got close, he'd move the Wave Serpents up and unload the Guardians and do a bit of a screen. And obviously then use the Shuriken catapults to dagger units down, which is still quite effective. And then so you'd find yourself sort of in this position of where you've got to shoot these Guardians to get through. And so you're not shooting the important stuff, which is behind, which is like the Stomping Wraith Knight, the Wraith Flamers, and all that sort of stuff. And then that's able to counter.
And then you have obviously he's got the Crimson Hunter coming in on a 2+, which is good. And that kind of autark with the Starlance and the Banshee Mask, underrated because the fact that it kind of totally denies Overwatch.
Lots of utility as well.
Lots of utility, it can jump in a lot of units it can jump in and lend punch, but also defensive utility from denying the Overwatch.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't even take a charge from. He's got three jet bikes. Like if you were to put that in 3 jet bikes, you really don't want to even take a charge on like a 10-man Marine squad from that Autark and the 3 bikes because the Autark can comfortably kill 3-4 Marines.
So. And if he wants to join, he could. I mean, I'm not sure exactly if he was using it in a very dedicated niche role, but if the Wraith Guard are under threat, it can join the Wraith Guard, which already are doing really good Overwatch, and then give 3 wounds of 4 up invuln as well in there.
Unless you're willing to chump charge the Wraith Guard, you really can't afford to charge it with anything realistically.
So yeah, I think that's congratulations to Michael. Obviously, I hope we've done his list justice with a bit of analysis.
He definitely is a very good player, and he definitely plays well. He's podiumed and placed a lot of tournaments this year with different armies all around the board.
Yeah.
So
His last event was Vic Masters, wasn't it?
yeah, Vic Masters, which was a battle company, I think.
Yeah.
So
Consistent performer.
Congratulations.
Next up, we got Ben Zagami, who came in second with the Skitarii Cult Mechanicus 7 comp list.
With the Knight. Effectively, it was interesting because he took what was almost a war convocation, what would normally be in a war convocation, almost all the elements, without actually taking the war convocation. So I'm sure he did that for comp reasons. So and Ben's obviously a really, he's a big hobbyist and he's into, I think he's also into taking lists that just aren't too broken. I think he's very competitive, but he also cares about the quality of the game and doesn't want to really deter his opponents too much.
Fair. Yeah. He's been around for a long time, I think, in the scene. He's played a lot of 40k.
He's been in the scene for over 10 years. He's played almost every army that I can think of out there. Well paints, everything. Ticks all the boxes.
But by no means are we trying to say that he's not a competitive player, because this list, 7 comp, we're about to read it. It's a very strong list, and he obviously played it pretty well. So I'm going to read it. Apologies for reading it off my phone here. So he's got his a detachment he's got his cult mech. So this is the battle congregation. He just has a Tech Priest Dominus, bare bones, with Cataphren Destroyers with Cognus Flamer, and some Cataphren Breaches. Yep. So 2 units of 3 there. Yep. So just the basic, very basic there. Then he's got his Skitarii Maniple. He's got a unit of Vanguard. He's got some Plasma Calibers, Radiant Pistols in there. He's got Skitarii Rangers, a unit of those. And then he's got, for his Elite's choices, he's got a unit of Infiltrators. And there's some... there's the Taser Goads and Fletcher Blasters there. And then he's got the Rust Stalkers as well. Both very effective assault units. We'll discuss those in a second. Then he's got, for fast attack, he's got a unit of Sidonian Dragoons. He's got a unit of 3 there, and an Onager Dronecaller with the Icarus Array.
Yep.
And lastly, but not least, he's got the Night Warden with the Ironstorm Missile Pod and Thunderstrike Gauntlet.
Yep.
So it comes in at 7 comp.
Yep. So it's a very good list. Lots of midfield, lots of counter charging, lots of shooting.
I think it's got lots of alpha, to be honest with you. Like
yeah,
the way it
does.
can just shove all those infiltrating units down your throat and still have like good backfield shooting from like the
Cataphrons and the Knight and so forth.
Correct. Yeah. Like there's quite a few good things in there. So yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting, very interesting. I played Lachlan Morrison's list. He actually had the war convocation, but there's similarities there. But I won't go into that game yet. We'll talk about that in the next part. But yeah, as you said, just the fact that you've got this really powerful backfield with the Cataphrons, just putting out insane damage, and then you've got this Knight and the Sicarans coming forward. It's just too much pressure for a lot of armies to deal with.
It forces you to fight his style of play, which is I'm going to fight the midfield, and you have to deal with the infiltrators and all these close combat units and this pressure, which allows him to basically pick his targets with the Cataphrons, the Knights, and just slowly but surely weather your army down and kill what he needs to kill.
Two things that really stick out to me with these armies is the special rules, because for me even personally, I looked at the codex, looked at the unit entries, and I'm like, looks okay, looks alright. But then like they're starting in all their modifiers with the plus ballistic skill and all those other special rules, and it actually just the force multiplication from that is devastating for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, a lot of people do say that the Admech and Skitarii together play very similar to Tau, so a lot of buffs, combinations, and a lot of force multipliers that slowly get better and better and better, very similar to like Tau. So
yeah, they've got like good ability to reduce cover saves. I'd say they've got the best cover save reduction in terms of that kind of synergy outside second to Tau. They don't have like the raw power of like that just straight up ignores cover that things like the Hunter's Eye have for White Scars or rolling perfect timing, things like that. It's not polarized. They just kind of very reliably neg your cover by 1 and then by another one, and then they hammer you.
I wouldn't want to rely on it though, to be honest, because like if you came up against something like Ravenwing, for example, and they've got a 12 roll cover save, often with a few of those mechanics, you have to actually push a wound through. If you can't get that initial wound through, then you're going to have a really hard time.
That's true.
Yeah.
Another thing that's like, I reckon those what are they called, the HQs for the Cult Mechanicus?
Yeah, the Tech Priest Dominus.
Tech Priest Dominus.
They're actually really good.
They're an insanely powerful HQ. Like looking at their defensive stats and like just their utility is amazing. And like I didn't get to see any of his games. I don't know where he's running it, but just with looking at that list, I'd very often want that in front of the Cataphron Destroyers with the Grav, because as we know, Cataphron Destroyers only having a 4-up save, but having they're like glass cannons. They've got no defensive capacity, but they hit like trucks. And so putting the Dominus in front of them was probably a pretty prudent play, I think.
Well, that's...
It would also give him a lot of versatility. Some of the games he wouldn't need to put it at the front because someone doesn't have a lot of shooting, so he'd put it with the infiltrators or some of the other units to take some of the fire.
Because they're
off
not too shabby in combat either.
Correct.
They're still quite offensive.
They're also good with the Vanguard, just like that, kind of like that infantry unit putting out shooting, tanking for the Vanguard, supporting them, and also making it a bad target to shoot at. But I think because he's got that heal every turn, I think you kind of want him with a unit that's going to be taking shots.
To get his maximum usage, you definitely want to be trying to take a wound every turn.
Yeah, correct. So I think you end up, like I played against a different list, didn't have the Imperial Knights, so probably didn't have that forward punching power that the list I played against at a different event, but you just end up with these staggered gun lines, and it just seems to hit you like wave after wave. It's like first you got the infiltrating Skitarii, and then you punch through them, and you're like, oh, hang on, there's breaches there, and you punch through those, and it just doesn't end.
There's a weird kind of you kind of look at them and you see all these very varied stat lines, but there's a weird synergy with the Skitarii and like the mech. How with the Skitarii, like the infiltrators and the Ruststalkers, they're toughness 3, 2 wound, feel no pain, 4-up armor save. So they've got this situation where they are very, very, very vulnerable to strength 6. And strength 6 often comes with AP 4. So people will want to be shooting their strength 6 AP 4 at the Sicarans, but they're the exact type of weapon you also want to be shooting at the Cataphrons.
Correct.
So these, you're kind of creating a redundancy where people can only shoot their strength 6 so many places.
Yeah.
And the Imperial Knights are going to be wanted to be taking strength
and
6, 7 shots as well.
Even
Not strength
caller.
6, obviously.
Even the Naked Dream Call as well. Yeah. All of it.
A lot of synergies in the list and a lot of good work and realistically a good list build.
Yeah,
So,
it was obviously a very powerful list at 7 comp again. Came in second place. Obviously played it very
And it's
well.
also worth noting that these boys, first and second, Michael Hamilton, Ben Zagami, played each other, and they I think it ended up going 12 to Hamilton.
Oh, okay.
So Zagami ended up with 10 points. So it was a
There you
12-10. Yeah.
There you go. That's including the bonus points, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so no, it was obviously pretty good. It's interesting that it mimics so closely that the major formation they run in the uncomped scene.
Yeah. So we can see maybe that's something that the fact that it's seeing so much play. Regarding comp, it's not really. I don't think it's too soon to kind of try and push for things to be something over comp trying to comp.
I wouldn't know I wouldn't know how to isolate any additional comp things in that jar maybe because as we said it's like this wave effect where each one just stacks up on top of the next.
Yeah,
and
the
units as a
sum
whole
ends
are
up
probably okay comped. You're not unsure about the actual combinations of the army.
It's a bit
and
like
how
Battle
well it
Comp.
plays and so forth. So.
A bit like Battle Company, where the things like the doctrines in Battle Company, it's hard to work out whether they should be comped or not. And with Mech and Skitarii, how they've got these really powerful turn one-off use type things. They're not; those things aren't comped, but as you said earlier, when they pop that +2 ballistic skill, or was it +3?
There's a good +3.
Yeah, it's like they just becomes ridiculous.
It's really hard for the untrained eye, I think, to identify where the source of power there is. Do you know what I mean? Some people would blame a given unit because it might that particular they might get hit by the Cataphron destroyers and be like, oh well, that unit needs to be comped. It's like, well, maybe that was just effective against your Terminator unit. Do you know what I mean? And it applies across the board.
But as you said,
sorts of shooting.
with the War Convocation, I know Ben Zagami wasn't running a War Convocation, but Lachlan Morrison was. They can use everything. So everything in the detachment can use the benefits, the Skitarii benefits.
Yes.
So the Skitarii benefits will apply to that mech. So, and they, as you said, what they actually get is the Skitarii gives the +3 BS. The Admech gives the rerolls to hit. So they pop them both in the same turn. And they're getting...
Effectively, you got BS10.
Effectively BS10, because you're hitting on 2's rerolls.
Yeah.
And that's very
good. That's good. That's actually good.
Definitely a really powerful synergy, and it also makes some of the units, even the basic ones with just basic plasma guns and stuff like that, start to be really scary.
So they do that, and they do that in turn 1. And then that turn, they're moving their Knight and their Sicarans up. And then in turn 2, when they've already used their plus shooting alpha strike, then they go into the plus weapon skill. Although then
reroll the hit.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy. So third place we had Jack Baring playing Orcs, and he was running a 6 comp Orc list, which was pretty good. It was actually quite good.
Definitely good.
I learned a lot of things. I played Orcs for the first time on the weekend. We'll probably talk a little bit more about what we individually played in the next segment. But Jack Baring's list, is this it here, Caine?
Yeah, that's it there, mate.
I'll have a quick little squeeze here. So Jack was running a Warboss on a bike in a unit of more bikes. So I believe there was 10 in each unit. So he had 2 units of 10 bikes, not bike boys. And then he also had a unit of Death Copters. So he filled out his fast attack slots. This is running an Orc CAD. For his troop options, he took 2 units of 10 boys in trucks with power claws. Also have power claws on the bikes, saturated knobs.
Yeah, I believe there was claws on almost anything that could have them. I think a couple of these knobs themselves in Mega Armor didn't have claws, but I don't think there was very much that didn't have claws.
Okay. He had a unit of mech guns for backfield support, and then he was also running the formation from the War Gazgold book, which is the Gazgold Bully Boys, being the 3 units of Mega Knobs, which have the options to take vehicles. Across the list, he had 1 battle wagon with a unit of Bully Boys in there, and then he had 5 trucks, 2 of which had another 5-man unit of Bully Boys in them. Hits like a brick.
Yeah, definitely a very, very fast list. If you've got first turn, it's on your doorstep. It's like literally on your deployment zone first turn. And then if you start wrecking the trucks after that, they're getting out 6. They're and then getting ready to charge you. So you really need to be good with your screens and definitely stopping him.
So the big pointers for me were the mech guns. Those mech guns, backfield support. You can take cannons for 18 points, which is like a 4 wound unit with T7 I cannot think of anything that cost effective in your backfield in the game.
Yep, definitely very hard to budge off a backfield. Like it's impossible to almost make them take a morale. And you've got lots of versions. You've got the Strength 8 AP2 blasts, which is really, really good at supporting all the stuff, opening up your vehicles, your transports. Maybe you open up the transports if they're light armor ones with the bikes, and then you drop the blasts on them.
Yep.
They got rerolls to Gets Hot because he's got some grots and stuff in
there.
there.
Yeah, you can take a few options. So you can get the ammo runs, which give you a reroll to hit. He was running his with the mega cannons, so they're like a Gets Hot weapon.
Gets Hot Strength 8 AP2 blasts. So 3 of them a turn, obviously.
And with the runs, interestingly enough, allow you to reroll your Gets Hot result, which is also good. So when you need that, you can really just sort of push that through.
I think the runs also, if I'm correct, can give you Twin Linked for a turn. You can either sacrifice it for a reroll or Twin Linked or something like that.
As I understand it, when you get the reroll, you also get to reroll your Gets Hot result. So you can choose to reroll when you get hot, or you can choose to reroll when you miss.
Yep.
And when he needed it, he popped 2 of them when he needed it, and it really paid off for him. So that's mech guns are a really good unit. They are C1, and so they are comped fairly heavily. You can't saturate them, but for 0 comp to take that unit in the backfield, it's just really, really strong.
I think what's most kind of scary, or that's the most devastating part of that list, is just the idea that you've got 3 units of knobs in mega armor bearing down you in trucks.
Yeah.
And against a lot of armies, for example, like if it's a Marine army, like a Rhino Rush or something, Death Combat, like the old school kind of 3rd and 4th edition style lists, in the modern day, kind of popping things in Rhinos, I've popped it, it can't assault next turn. You can incrementally deal with things, but when you've got these ridiculously strong things that hit like trucks, that are assault vehicles, and then they, as you said, you wreck it, they pop out 6, they move 6, they assault you, turn 2, Gazgul will be popping Wah. Like, your army will just explode on turn 2. Unless you can, I don't know, like what are you looking for? You're looking for stun results on these trucks, aren't you?
Well, realistically, you're looking for probably you're looking for explosions to keep them in the chassis so that you can template them.
Yeah, very good.
Or you're probably realistically looking for like lots of blocking and then
Stuns and immobilizers.
Yeah, stuns and immobilizers, and then like some screening units. Realistically, if he gets first turn, like I had the pleasure of playing Jack, and he did get first turn. I managed to get a win, but it was ridiculously close because he was on my doorstep turn 1. There's 60, 70 wounds there to deal with between the bikes, the 20 boys getting out, the 12 knobs, the war boss in mega armor, on a bike. Like it's all on your doorstep turn 1. So it's a lot. Like you really need to be a good player. You need to know what units to kill, what units to screen, and
I would play Jack. I had the pleasure of playing Jack as well, and I went in that game pretty ignorant, to be honest, about orcs, and it probably hurt my result. But I did learn a lot. The biggest thing that caught me off guard was actually the bikes. The orc bikes are ridiculous.
Phenomenal unit for their point cost.
Ridiculous units. So you're looking at an 18-point model that's T5, Jinx for a 3-up save, and shoots 3 shots, 18 inches, assault 3, strength 5, AP 5.
Yeah.
18 points. That is a joke.
Yep.
Yeah, bikes are, I think, one of the most powerful just archetype. Just the web platform.
Yeah, any
really
cavalry is good.
Bikes or cavalry. Just the ability, the maneuverability to flat out.
Yeah.
Which makes them very aggressive.
Yeah. I think it's insane though that they get a Jinx save that's better than their armor save.
Yeah.
And they lose 1 ballistic skill because orcs are BS2. They lose 1 ballistic skill, but they're twin linked.
Yeah.
So you don't even care.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, and also just the assault power of them. Like, you've still got on the charge, they're still moving 12 and charging 2d6. And when they're charging, you've still got a Hammer of Wrath from these bikes. You've still got knobs with power claws in there. He has a war boss and with heavy armor and stuff in there. It's a lot of damage. Like, you really can't take that charge.
It's a lot to deal with.
So
it
the
really
list,
is.
yeah, I think obviously the list. What it does best is you're effectively making everything a fast assault unit, but they're not fast assault units. Yeah. So they're not paying the fast assault unit tax. You're getting synergy over multiple platforms. He's using his vehicle points to enable assault from just really, really powerful units. And he's using bikes that, if they're on their own, they're just kind of, a small unit of bikes isn't very threatening in assault, but he's putting war bosses in there. Yeah. And supporting them that they can then support a unit of bully boys.
Well, it's one of those things where like you line up across the table from it, you look at these knobs, the bully boys in the wagons, and you're like, I need to deal with those quickly. But if you do that, you're sort of ignoring the bikes, and the bikes cannot be ignored. You cannot afford on all these bikes.
Yeah.
So you have to deal with the bikes, and at the same time you have to deal with the bully
You both
boys.
played, Jack. How did he use his death copters? Because I noticed that he took a couple of
Basically,
those.
his death copters were basically like used to pin charges, being T5, 2 wounds apiece. They're quite solid at that. Open up transports if you had any. Obviously, twin link rockets coming out used pretty good.
Rockets, yep.
He's got scout moves on them, so he's trying to get side angles on certain things and pincer things. He used them quite effectively against me. He was using them to bait charges so that I was losing my overwatch and my supporting fire and stuff from certain units. And that in turn forces me to shoot them and kill them, which is wasting shooting. So yeah, he used them quite well. They were very good.
Yeah, I think it's obviously he's had a lot of success with that. He's played that for a while, and he's been saying for a while. I've heard him say that it's a really good list.
Yeah,
Like he's been saying almost a year actually.
a lot of
I
people
remember
have been saying that orcs
Terracon.
are undercomped, and
Yeah.
orcs are underestimated is probably a better way to put it.
And,
Orcs
he's,
is definitely
and the thing
underestimated.
about Jack is he doesn't deny it. He doesn't say he's not trying to protect his list. He's not telling everybody how bad it is. He's legitimately saying this is a really good list and I'm crushing face with it. And where's your face? Let me crush it.
And
you guys-
nothing's happened with it. It's still there, crushing,
No, but
crushing
look, we're not
face.
saying things should be up comp.
Well, like some things got changed. I know I actually had a chat with Jack about the comping on them, and some things got changed. So the armor value tax and all that came in and so forth, but then certain points got taken away from things. So I mean, like ultimately, he said his list was a 6 or a 7 this time last year, and it ended up being a 6 or a 7 this time. So it's fluctuating. But
I don't think it needs to be more. If more, you would say maybe no more than one comp extra.
yeah,
Just
it's-
because of the saturation of the fast assault.
yeah, there's
But
very little in it. That's,
other than that, like as you said, every unit individually is kind of like mediocre.
Yep.
It's just this cascading. Again, it's just this. We see this repeat.
It's just a
thing of
very
cascading
fast
waves
wall.
of stuff.
It's
that's
a
just
wave.
saturated.
It's a wave that that crashes like 2 or 3 waves that crash at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if your army, if you break to it, you're dead. But if you don't, if you can push that wave back, if you can delay the wave, then you'll be in a very good position.
Yeah,
But it's very hard to resist 15 mega knobs on the charge with power claws.
I think that the trick, like if I was playing that list, I think what I'd be doing is just MSUing, shooting on turn 1 and stunning or trying to stun all his vehicles. If I can stop his vehicles
Yeah.
for 1 turn, I
Yeah,
can
correct.
use the rest of my shooting to destroy his
Yeah.
support elements.
Yeah, correct. Like
So
once you're
that's the way
slowing
you
up the
beat it.
units,
Yeah.
it's not so hard to actually beat. But I mean, again, that comes down to if he gets first turn. If he gets first turn, he's moving 12, he's flat out in 12. And then after the first turn, he doesn't mind if
That's
you wreck
true.
his vehicles. Like,
not,
go for
not
it.
on the wagon, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, well, the wagon's the second wave. Like, the wagon has 4 more knobs basically come in as of turn 3. But I mean, you still have, as of turn 2, his turn 2, he's got wars, so he's got re-rolls and stuff like this on his distances and so forth. And then he's getting out 6, he's moving 6 off that. So if you haven't wrecked him, technically he's like on your 6-inch line by turn 2 if you haven't killed your transports. And average your
And
charge.
the beauty of it is because he's moving and flooding out and he's getting so close, he sometimes might not even need to pop WAR on turn 2.
Yeah, sometimes.
So
you don't.
if he doesn't, then he's got that. He then allows his knobs in Mega Armor to be more mobile on turn 3 when they're on foot.
Yeah, correct.
So he can lubricate
Yeah,
that
use it
turn
on
3
turn
play.
4 against me.
Yeah.
Came
So
in on
I think
turn
there'd be a
4.
lot of times he's so close to you on turn 2 he doesn't even need it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he used it against me on turn 3 as well. So because I did a lot of screening in turn 2, like he was very close. He was on my 12-inch line in turn 1, so I moved up and screened and detached some drones and things like that.
Yeah.
So he obviously, used it turn 3 because he had a lot of easy charges turn 2. So
Well, there you go. So that's the top 3, and we talked about the painting and whatnot. So look, big congratulations to everyone. Big congrats to the top 3. I think as a special mention, Simone Bongiovanni got Best General
Yep.
with his Demons list. Sorry, Chaos Space Marines list.
Chaos Space Marines, yeah.
Next up, we'll be bringing you part 3 in our review of the hunt. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Cheers.
thanks.